All right, you guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new around here, make sure you like and subscribe. We're spending the day out in the nursery again today. It's a beautiful sunny day. Shaylin spent a better part of the morning getting us all prepped up. You can see in behind me here, she's already pulled out all the cell trays that were in the seedling room. We need to make room for the probably 50 or 60 cell trays that we're gonna seed up today. And if we have time, we might do a bit of potting up too of these things into 4-inch. And then we'll go from there. So let's touch base with Shaylin, see where she's at and see what she needs us to do. So what are you organizing here?
Well, I have all my snapdragon seeds, a bunch of onion seeds, dichondra, dusty millers, some petunias and dahlias, and some rosemary. I'm just trying to get organized for the day. I have a whole box of petunias.
So you can see here, this is Shaylin's sheet for keeping track everything that needs to be planted for the seedling sale. For wholesale customers as well as for what we do here at our seedling sale. So she's just got it broken down by the week, and then she's got the whole season planned out here, all on a Google Doc or Google sheet. So she breaks it down by what it is, the cultivar, how many trays we need to seed, what size tray, and then what its final destination is going to be in and where it's going. And then the last column is the sale week. So you can see here that even if we plant things on the same day, it doesn't always mean that it's ready for sale in the same week, just depending on how long it takes to grow. So for today, or this week I should say, we got leeks, onions, celery. So we are starting to see a bit of vegetables, but still mostly flowers this early in the year. And then you see next week we start to see a few more vegetables again. So still heavy flowers, vegetables will be coming. And then we also had some germination issues in that seedling room, so we got to do a bit of a replant. So a few trays there as well. So you guys might remember that heat pump that I pointed out in the previous video. It does have a bit of an issue when the temperatures are drastically fluctuating. So if we have real cold nights, say -20, and then during the day it warms up to 3 degrees, something along those lines, it has a hard time switching from cooling to heating. So we end up having a problem where the heat in that room rises quite drastically, and then we have a hard time managing the humidity. So that's something that we need to work out moving forward. So we ended up having a bit of a germination problem on a few of these crops here. I'll just show you quick. So this is a tray of snapdragons, and you can see that the germination's not very good at all. So that's a tray that we'll have to reseed. So for the most part, fill-in trays for seeding is very similar to what we do for potting up. The only time that it does change is when we switch from a 72, like these ones here, into a 128 or a 200. We'll sift the dirt. A lot of this stuff that we get is just an all-purpose potting soil. So it does sometimes have some larger chunks of peat, as well as chunks of like branches, twigs and whatnot. So in a 128 and a 200, sometimes those chunks can take up so much of the cell tray that there's actually not a lot of dirt for that plug to root into. So we'll sift it just through a tray to catch as much of the chunks as we can off, and then we just throw those down into the scraps, and then those go to the compost. But that's pretty well the only difference. The rest of it is the same. Bust the dirt up, get rid of as many of the big chunks as you can. We fill them as full as we can. We don't pack it in too much because we still want to be able to compress them. So just like that, and then same thing, we'll just stack them up here. Get a nice stack of, I don't know, 5 to 10. And then Shaylin will come through and push them all down to create a little bit of an indent for the seed to sit in. And then she'll seed into that, and then we'll cover it again with a thin layer of topsoil. So you can see the dirt has a bit of moisture in it. You don't want it too dry or it doesn't pack in there nice, but you also don't want it to be too wet. You got to find that happy medium. And then it always seems like the corners and the edges are the ones that don't fill up quite as nice, so you kind of want to work the soil in to make sure that they all get about the same amount.
Every tray that we plant in the entire nursery season for the garden, for our wholesale customers, or for our sale greenhouse, the only way that we're able to keep them organized and slightly less chaos is by proper labeling. So every tray, we write what the type of plant is, what the cultivar is, and the date that we planted it, because you can cross-reference that with our sheet to find out what week it was planted and what week it goes out, either to the sale or to our wholesale customer, or what day it goes out into the garden. So I'm just labeling some new trays because we have some replanting to do.
So you can see here the importance of sifting that dirt when we're doing 128s and 200s. It's not a lot, but that's just off doing three 128s. So it's definitely worthwhile. You can buy a seed starting mix, but for the amount of 128s and 200s that we actually do in a season, it just doesn't make sense at this point. It's just easier to sift the few that we need to do. So what's your take on using old seed, Shaylin?
Well, I'm thrifty, so I like to reuse as much as I can.
Accurate.
Over the years, I've learned that certain seeds can only be used for one season.
Today on Frugal Friday, Shaylin is using old seed once again.
I'm putting
what
2
are you
and
doing?
3 in each cell, because if the germination percentage has gone down, that doesn't mean it's at 0. So normally I would put 1 seed per hole, but because I've tested them and the germination is down, I'm putting 2 or 3 per cell. That way, I'm sure one of them will germinate in each hole. And if more than one germinates in each one, then when we go to transplant them, we can
I think that's what they
separate
call
them.
girl math. So one thing this time of year is it's cool at night, but it's hot during the day. In this greenhouse, we don't have exhaust fans installed at this point, so when it gets too hot, it doesn't kick on a thermostat to pull the hot air out. So we're still relying just on the roll-up sides. Which is an upgrade that we are drastically going to want to do this year if we can. It just allows you to actually leave the property. All 3 of our greenhouses at one point didn't have exhaust fans, so somebody always had to be here just to regulate the temperature when it gets hot like it is today. So the other 2 got upgraded last spring, I guess. So the growing season in them was a little bit easier. We were able to keep it a nicer temperature, where the nursery still doesn't have that. So we were just rely on the roll-up sides on both sides and leaving the door open. So we'll just grab an old cell tray, or not an old one, but an empty one of the same size. Stick it on top.
Line it up.
Line it all up with the holes below. And then push it down. You can usually do 4 or 5 at a time. And then it's just going to create
A seed bed.
a seed bed that you can drop the seed in. All right, so we managed to get that replant all done. Now we're moving on to the start of our actual farm start. So we are moving our peppers, I think 2 weeks earlier this year. We got a pretty short pepper season here, even in our greenhouse. So we started New Ace is the variety that we're doing this year. We did it last year as well in the greenhouse, and it did quite well. Fast growing and nice sized pepper. The nice thing about it too is that you can actually harvest it green and it still tastes good, or you can let it go to full maturity to red, which we do have enough time now that we're going a little bit earlier for it to turn red for us. And then we're also going to seed up a bunch of beets. We do our beets all by transplant. We don't direct seed our beets anymore. We've just found that success rate is a lot better if we seed them up into 128. And then from there, just direct transplant them out into the garden. Seems to work a lot better. And then you don't have to do as much thinning either. It's a little bit more work up front, but you save it kind of on the back end.
Beets will get seeded into 128s. We need 8 of them to do a bed, and then in about 28 to 32 days, they'll be ready to go outside. So that does seem a little bit early still, but we use frost blanket to cover our seedlings once they're planted outside. And for every layer of frost cloth you put on, you gain 2 to 3 degrees. So as long as the forecasts are showing that it will be -5 or warmer, then usually we can get our beets out quite early and save a lot of time and get them in and out of the garden quite early. Okay, so we're gonna do some air seeding for the beets. So this is our air seeder. We got it last year, and it speeds up the seeding process like tremendously. So it comes with different, well, it doesn't come with them. You have to buy different plates for the different cell tray sizes that you do. So right now on the air seeder, we've got our 200 cell tray. What is this called?
Plate.
We have our 200 cell tray plate on here right now. But to do beets, I need to switch it to the 128. So it just has 4 little screws. You undo them, swap the plates. It's pretty easy. You just unscrew 4 of these little, come out. This comes off. It has a nice little squishy seal on it so that it gets airtight. And then it has a lip in here for storing the seed, so that one always goes away from you. So you line that up. Take your vacuum and plug it into the spout on the one side, and then there's a slide here that lets you adjust how much airflow is coming from the vacuum, and then the one on this side helps you with setting the right suction amount for each of the holes. So I like to start with this one all the way open and this one halfway open. This year we switched our first variety of beets. Normally we use Early Wonder, but we were finding that Early Wonder was more of a beet green beet, so it would spend more time growing these big luscious beet tops and less time growing the actual beet itself. So this year we're going to try Zeppo. It is supposed to have a really good baby beet with a nice kind of shorter, stockier beet green that stays attached to the beet a little bit better. So it's perfect for bunching, which is what we want our first round of beets to be. So I'll show you how we vacuum seed. Okay, so we have our tray. It's filled in. It's been compressed. When you're using the air seeder, you need to make sure that the top is really nice and clean. And then you go to your seeds and you turn on your vacuum. Very loud. Ta-da!
Okay, so we managed to get all the seeding done that Shailene wanted to get done. She had to run, deal with some kids sports stuff, so we're just gonna finish up the last of this 4-inch. I just did 3 trays of geraniums. I got probably 2 trays of lavender. And then I think if we have time, we'll see if we can't get that fridge in here. Surprise Shailene for when she gets back. All right, well, there you have it. Another great day in the nursery. Managed to get quite a bit done today. Enjoying the nice weather as well. So I'm gonna try to get that fridge in here for Shailene. She wants it right there beside her seating table, but that's gonna require a massive extension cord. So I'm gonna try to put it over here. So make sure you like, subscribe, and leave a comment whether you think I'm gonna have to move it or not. Thanks for watching. I think I'll prep this just in case.